There's a specific kind of loss that only exists online. It isn't when something breaks, and it isn't when something gets old. It's when something safe is quietly taken away, without ceremony, without closure, and without a way back. Club Penguin wasn't just a game. It was a place parents trusted, a place schools recommended, and a place millions of kids were allowed to exist online for the first time. At its peak, it had more than 10 million active accounts, all living inside the same snowy island. And then one day, it was all gone. No offline mode, no preserved version, no official way for a new generation of kids to ever experience it again. Which raises a question that sounds simple but isn't. How does one of the safest games ever made become too dangerous to keep alive? Because this story isn't just about a shutdown, it's about innocence under pressure. The magic, the structure, the rules, the cracks, the bans, and the real-world cases that forced everything to end. And by the end of this video, you'll understand something uncomfortable. Not just about Club Penguin, but about why some digital worlds cannot survive the internet, no matter how pure they start. And by the end of this video, you'll realize the real horror wasn't the shutdown itself. It was what showed up after the lights went out. Then it got worse. Even police got involved. Because even after the shutdown, people tried to go back. They logged in hoping to see the island one more time, but instead found silence. Familiar places with no one inside them. An innocent world that suddenly felt wrong. And that's the question we're heading toward. Because just because something looks safe doesn't mean a penguin can't waddle into the wrong place. But to understand how it all fell apart, we have to go back to the beginning. Back to when the island felt endless. Club Penguin did not feel like a traditional video game. It felt like a neighborhood that just happened to exist on a screen. You didn't spawn into action or chaos. You logged into snow, into soft music, muted colors, rounded shapes, and a world that intentionally avoided anything sharp or aggressive. Your penguin wasn't powerful. It couldn't fight, dominate, or win against other players. It could wave, dance, sit down, type messages, and exist. That design choice mattered more than most people realize, because Club Penguin was never about skill or progression. It was about presence. The town plaza, the coffee shop, the dock, the ski hill, and the iceberg were not levels to complete. They were places to return to. Kids learned routines without realizing it. Where people hung out, where conversations happened, and where you went when you didn't know what else to do. Even the interface reinforced patience. Movement was slow, animations were exaggerated. Chat appeared deliberately, and nothing encouraged speed. Everything discouraged urgency. And that created something rare on the internet, a space that felt calm. Parents noticed this immediately. Schools noticed it too. Club Penguin wasn't marketed as a game you conquered. It was marketed as a space you could trust. And for a long time, that trust held. The golden age of digital childhood. This is the era people still talk about without needing reminders. The years when logging into Club Penguin felt like checking in on friends, even if you didn't know their real names. You played minigames not because you needed coins, but because they were comforting and familiar. Kart Surfer, Puffle Rescue, Ice Fishing, Hydro Hopper, and Dance Contest weren't designed to be optimized. They were designed to be replayed endlessly without pressure. Coins didn't represent power. They represented expression. Clothing didn't make you stronger. It made you recognizable. Seasonal events were not updates meant to retain engagement. They were moments. Halloween decorations, Christmas parties, music jam concerts, and the fair gave the island a rhythm that mirrored real life. Kids didn't just log in randomly. They logged in because something was happening. The PSA missions, and later the EPF, gave children something else entirely. A slow, unfolding story that made them feel trusted. For many players, this was their first experience with an ongoing narrative that evolved. As Club Penguin grew, something subtle began to shift. Not in the gameplay, but in the atmosphere. More players meant more conversations meant more rules, and more rules meant stricter enforcement. Chat filters became more aggressive, sometimes removing words mid-sentence without explanation. Messages failed to send, and kids didn't always understand why. Then came permanent bans, often delivered instantly, without warnings that made sense to a child. From a safety perspective, this was understandable, but emotionally it changed how the world felt. When something disappears without explanation, People don't feel corrected. They feel watched. And once a world feels watched instead of guided, trust begins to erode quietly. Players became more careful. Conversations became shorter. Creativity became restrained. The island still existed, but it felt less forgiving, less playful, and more fragile. When Disney acquired Club Penguin, the intention was not to destroy it. The intention was to protect it. Disney is a company built on brand safety, legal caution, and absolute control over environments aimed at children. Club Penguin became safer on paper, but colder in practice. The island still looked the same, but it felt more constrained. Kids didn't leave immediately, but the tone shifted. The magic wasn't gone, but it was quieter. And in 2017, Disney made the decision that would define the entire legacy of the game. But before that decision, the community was given one last moment. For years, there was a rumor inside Club Penguin. The iceberg could tip, but only if enough penguins stood on it at the same time. No one had ever really seen it happen. So, when the final party arrived, players didn't log in for coins or events. They logged in to try one last time. Servers filled. Penguins crowded the iceberg, jumping, dancing, waiting. And then, it worked. The iceberg tipped. The island didn't end. It turned into a disco. Music, lights, and hundreds of penguins celebrating together. It wasn't announced as a farewell, but everyone felt it, because that was the last time the entire community stood in one place and made something happen together. And just days later, the island they had just saved together was gone. When Club Penguin shut down, it didn't fade away gradually. It ended completely. There was no offline version, no preserved island, and no official archive for players to revisit. The servers went dark. And what you're seeing right now is what that felt like in real time. The final moments of a world going quiet. That detail matters because Club Penguin wasn't just software. It was a shared space. And when a digital world disappears without preservation, it doesn't die peacefully, it fractures. Players don't move on, they rebuild. On March 29, 2017, everything went dark. One day later, Disney tried to replace the world with something new. Club Penguin Island, released on March 30, 2017. But for millions of players, it wasn't enough. That's where private servers entered the story, and where everything started to unravel. Private Club Penguin servers had existed even before the shutdown, but after March 2017, they exploded in popularity. These were unofficial recreations of the original game, hosted by fans, often marketed as the real Club Penguin. The most popular of these were Club Penguin Rewritten, Club Penguin Online, and CPPS.2. For the purposes of this story, the two that mattered most were Rewritten and Online. At first, these servers felt like a miracle. Familiar music, familiar maps, familiar minigames. To many players, it felt like nothing had been lost at all. But what most players didn't realize was that these servers were not companies. They were not professional operations. They were often run by small teams of volunteers, sometimes teenagers, operating in legal gray areas, avoiding Disney's attention by labeling themselves as non-profit projects. And that mattered because it meant something critical was missing. There were no real safety standards, no corporate accountability, no professional security infrastructure, and it didn't take long for that absence to show. On January 21, 2018, Club Penguin Rewritten suffered a massive data breach. Approximately 1.7 million users had their login data stolen. This wasn't a sophisticated cyber attack. Investigators later discovered that Rewritten was using MD5 hashing, an outdated and extremely weak encryption method that even beginner hackers can exploit. This meant passwords were not properly protected. On the surface, this might sound like a technical mistake, but the implications were serious. Many users reused passwords across multiple accounts, email logins, social media, banking, personal services. By failing to protect basic credentials, Rewritten potentially exposed players, many of them minors, to risks far beyond the game itself. The backlash was immediate. Trust in Rewritten was shaken, and for the first time, players started questioning whether nostalgia was worth the risk. This was the moment when the illusion cracked. As faith in Rewritten declined, players began migrating to smaller private servers. One of these was Virtual Penguin. What happened next shocked even longtime community members. Evidence emerged that the owners of Virtual Penguin were actively launching DDoS attacks and hacking attempts against competing servers. Screenshots later leaked showing conversations where the owners discussed destroying their competition. This wasn't preservation anymore, it was warfare. Servers were sabotaging each other, players were caught in the middle. The Club Penguin community, once built on cooperation and safety, had turned hostile behind the scenes. And this still wasn't the worst part. The most disturbing chapter involved Club Penguin Online, run by a man named Riley, who also used the name Anthony. At first, it looked like normal community drama, but over time, players and former staff began sharing stories that were far more serious. These weren't random rumors. They were detailed accounts of manipulation, harassment, and inappropriate behavior toward underage players. Several people claimed Riley used his position as owner to form private relationships with minors, including hosting digital weddings inside the game. Some former staff members said he offered admin roles in exchange for personal photos. When those photos were sent, they were allegedly used as leverage to keep people quiet or loyal. Others said that when they tried to leave or speak out, they were threatened. There were reports of personal information being used to intimidate critics and even rival server owners. At the same time, Riley openly talked about conquering other private servers, treating the community like something to control instead of protect. Eventually, moderators stepped forward. Victims shared screenshots. What once seemed like internal drama became something much darker. This wasn't just online conflict anymore. It had become a real safety issue. By May 2020, the situation had drawn attention from journalists, law enforcement, and Disney themselves. On May 14, 2020, Disney issued DMCA takedown notices against all private servers operating under the Club Penguin name. This was not just about copyright anymore. Disney explicitly cited child safety as a reason for action, stating that unauthorized versions of Club Penguin could not guarantee protection for minors. Around this same time, reports emerged that a man associated with Club Penguin Online had been arrested on suspicion of processing CP. While legal details were limited, multiple outlets reported the arrest as part of a broader investigation. Shortly after, private servers began shutting down one by one. The experiment was over. Club Penguin taught a generation how to exist online gently, and then it taught the internet something harder. That innocence does not scale forever. Some worlds are not destroyed because they are bad. They are removed because the world around them changed. And if you were there, you already understand. Some worlds don't die. They're just left behind.